We've had tier 11, time to move up one tier in my Doctor Who ranking. Now, with tier 10, you've got episodes which people usually consider bad, some that they consider just meh, and we've even got one of my guilty pleasures in here. So, off we go. This tier also covers numbers 118 to 130. So, starting down at the bottom, 130, bottom of this tier, The Power of Three, i.e., the fourth episode of Series 7. Now, this episode had good ideas. It had kind of a nice idea of a kind of slow invasion of Earth, something that humanity doesn't notice, or if we do notice it, we don't take much kind of view of it. We just think, okay, they're here, and then stuff happens. That had potential, and it was also nice seeing Amy and Rory's life outside of the Doctor as well as inside with it. But I can't think they kind of squandered some of the potential with the Chakri, describing it as the kind of pest controllers of the universe. I don't know, it just kind of... This felt very much like filler in between the Ponds being here and then them eventually leaving in the next episode. So, yeah, good ideas, just not quite executed well enough. 129, Father's Day, the 8th episode of Series 1. Now, there are going to be some people who say that this is one of NuWho's best episodes. I personally think it's on the weaker side. I mean, yes, it's good to see a story where we see how history can be changed and the consequences that will ultimately come from it, but in terms of stuff being changed with other parts of Doctor Who, we've never seen the Reapers again. I mean, we have seen companions change stuff, and we've seen stuff on the Trickster and all that, but just the Reapers, they show up once in this episode, it's kind of like sterilise the wound that's been caused, but then they never show up again. And it's just, they're just there. I mean, also, Rose can come across as a little bit selfish in this episode, wanting to do things purely for herself, but yeah, some people like Father's Day. I personally think it's on the weaker side. One step up, 128. Series 8, Episode 7, Kill the Moon. Now, there are... Usually with Series 8, there's a choice between two episodes of which ones you consider worse. And we have got the other episode on this tier, but Kill the Moon, I look back on it and think, what? I mean, the moon is a giant egg. It's hatching. It's covered in kind of like spider antibodies, and then it hatches, and a giant bat flies out of it. And unlike most of Doctor Who, which is kind of enjoyably insane, this is just like, really, just the moon is an egg. It just also it's kind of a dick move on the Doctor's part to leave Clara, Courtney, and Lundvik kind of stranded there. To make it does make him look like a bit of an asshole, and I don't blame Clara for going full angry at him at the end. So yeah, Kill the Moon comes up 128. At number 127, we've got Journey to the Centre of the TARDIS, the 10th episode of Series 7. This should have been one of the easiest concepts to make cool. We see the inside of the TARDIS. We see the kind of upper and lower levels of it. We see how big it can truly be. But surprisingly enough, we don't actually see very much of that. I mean, yes, we do see the parts of the TARDIS library, and we do catch a glimpse of the swimming pool, but honestly, most of it's just kind of very enclosed, which in the TARDIS, I suppose, bigger on the inside, should make sense, but just, you could have done so much. Show us more of the TARDIS, show us the wardrobe, show us kind of some of the bigger rooms, but we actually get to see very little of it, and the time zombies, well, a cool idea, I find them a bit confusing and just like, yeah, no, I don't think this really works. So, I'm sorry to say, Journey to the Centre of the TARDIS comes fairly low for me. 126, In the Forest of the Night, the 10th episode of Series 8. Now, as I said, some people debate whether this is the worst episode or Kill the Moon's worse. I personally rank Kill the Moon lower, and this is where it is now, 126. Most people tend to regard it as bad because of the child acting. I personally don't think the child acting is that bad in it. I mean, okay, nothing remarkable, but Yeah, I actually think it's got kind of a nice kind of fairy tale vibe to it. As the Doctor mentions that everything that has happened in real life eventually becomes fairy stories. Kind of stories are where our memories go when they're forgotten. There is also an argument that this is kind of saying medication isn't needed, whereas I can kind of see the point about that. But honestly, I think In the Forest of the Night gets way more hate than it deserves. Anyway, number 125, Love and Monsters, i.e., the 10th episode series 2. You knew this had to be down here somewhere in the bottom, but like In the Forest of the Night, I think this is an episode that's looked down upon way too much. I think it's actually better than most people give it credit for. It was trying, after series 1 became a bit of a rush, it was trying to do kind of a Doctor light story, a Doctor and companion light. It was introducing light episodes showing kind of people outside of the Doctor and his companion circles, which it was a nice idea. It's questionable whether it works, and Peter Kay is a little bit overly kind of comical in it, but I honestly don't think it's that bad. I mean, it's not great, but yeah. 124, The Saranga Conundrum. This one I usually think of as the weakest episode of Series 11, but, having had a second watch through of it, I don't think it's that bad. It does have some cool stuff in there, but, yeah, I honestly think the Pating is a little bit of a lackluster villain, but that's just me. 123, one episode before The Stronger Conundrum, Arachnids in the UK. I can see why people dislike this one, but once again, I think it's one that's looked on a bit too harshly. And I'll admit, I do love the scene at the end where the group choose to stay with the Doctor, and I just think that's a lovely scene. 122, The Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe, the Christmas special of 2011. This always ranks as the bottom of my Doctor Who kind of Christmas ranking, but having watched it through the last time for Christmas, I actually did see a lot more good in it than I previously did. I actually did find it a lot more enjoyable with the kind of fairy tale aspects. I don't know if it deserved to quite have the title reference of Narnia, but you know what? The Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe, it deserved more credit than I previously gave it. 121, one of my guilty pleasures, Aliens in London and World War III, i.e. the 4th and 5th episodes of Series 1. Some of you may be asking, if it's a guilty pleasure of yours, why is it so low on the list? Well, there are a lot of episodes that are actually better than it, but once again, it introduced the fan favourite Doctor Who monster with the Slitheen. It gave us some good tension, and I also think it's pretty good. 120 is 42, i.e. the 7th episode of Series 3. This one had some good ideas once again, kind of falling into the sun, some great ideas of tension, and even the kind of Doctor as a pseudo-villain, that kind of worked. Once again, I think the reason it's so low is that there are other episodes that are better than it. That's just how it is. 119, I've got the 9th episode of Series 7, Hyde. Hyde, I was always unsure about. I mean, it was Doctor Who trying to do kind of more horror-oriented stuff, which in some cases works, in some cases doesn't. I personally think that the Crooked Man, or the monster they tried to use in this story, is supremely underused, and I found it ultimately a little bit confusing and kind of lackluster, but that's just me. But Hyde is still a fairly good episode. And the last episode on my tier 10, number 118, Oxygen, i.e. the 5th episode of Series 10. To me, this episode only really served one purpose in the grander scheme of things, and that was to make the Doctor blind for the upcoming Monk trilogy, which I don't know, I feel like you could have done something much better than this to eventually lead to that particular outcome, but you know what, it's not bad, and it is an episode where the villain of the piece is essentially kind of numbers, mathematics, and our deaths will be expensive. It's just like, okay, you've got a suit that's trying to kill you because you're going to cost money to keep alive. Like, okay. Well, there we go, that's my tier 10. Sorry I had to be so brief on some of the episodes, but yeah, that's my tier 10. I'll be moving up to tier 9 soon, but also to note, I've also managed to pick up 2 new classic Doctor stories, those being Tomb of the Cybermen and The Robots of Death. So I will try and get reviews out of those once I watch them through. Can't wait for that. Anyway, until I get to tier 9 and those 2 episodes, I'll see you later.